Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ, going through Pete Prisco's annual top 100 NFL players, the guys that just made the cut, 91 through 100. Is it difficult when you get to this point? Where do you move people in and out?
Let's put it this way. Every single guy that's in this 91 through 100 at one point was out.
Yeah. Almost all of them, or all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moved them in and out.
So let's take a look.
And some of them were actually higher at one point and moving down and out. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a weird process.
Here are the guys that did not make it into Pete Prisco's top 100 list. There at the very top, you get Derrick Carr, Christian McCaffrey. We'll talk about the 7 running backs that went ahead of him. He did not make the list. Kirk Cousins, Honey Badger there. Your good friend. I mean, are you going to have to call him?
Yeah, I think he would admit that he probably didn't play to that level last year.
You're going to have a conversation.
Yeah, well, I did with Patrick Peterson when I saw him, and I kept him out last year. So
let's welcome back Pete Prisco here at Will Brinson. Let's start with Derrick Carr, the best division in the NFL. Did not make it into your list. Why not?
He's close. I like what he did. I think numbers-wise, I don't think he earned the right to be in there last year. And he had some circumstances. Waller was hurt. The Ruggs situation, it really impacted him. And I think their play calling wasn't great at times. But he's just out. You know, Kirk Cousins, Derrick Carr, those kind of guys are just outside that top group of quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, the easy question here is, do you agree with it? What did you say? How did you describe Derrick Carr earlier? The best, worst quarterback, something, something, something?
The single greatest, worst quarterback in a division ever.
Put it on a t-shirt.
I would also, you know, as you mentioned, Amanda, who else got snubbed? I got snubs sent to me from Ryan Wilson and John Breach. John Breach said that his biggest snub is
Tyrann Mathieu.
If it did, great. Ryan Wilson said that his 2 biggest snubs were Derrick Carr and Scary Terry McLaurin. I would agree with both of those. I mean, I'm hoping that the social team will clip me saying this. Derrick Carr deserves more credit for his 2021 season, given all the things that happened off the field with the Raiders and his play on the field to get them to the playoffs. Derrick Carr remains an underrated quarterback heading into 2022. He was snubbed unceremoniously by Pete Prisco, deserves better. And with Josh McDaniels and Davante Adams in town, Derrick Carr is going to have a monster 2022 season. All hail the Derrick Carr fan base.
You know why he's doing that? So David Carr unblocks him. That's why.
Yes, and Darren Carr as well.
Yeah, you got the whole family blocked you, didn't they?
The whole family's blocked me on Twitter.
Yeah, but half of the world has you blocked, and vice versa there. You just love to block people.
That's fine, and if Derek Carr and his family block me, oh well.
What else do you want to see from him to make it into your top 100 this season that he didn't do last season?
Get those touchdowns into the 30s, 37, 35, 36, somewhere in there, and we'll see. Look, he's got a chance because I think Josh McDaniels is an outstanding play caller. He's got a chance with Davante Adams and a healthy Waller. I think he's got a real shot.
Okay, no Christian McCaffrey.
Aaron Jones. Sorry, Aaron Jones would be the other name.
And Aaron Jones will probably be back in the top 100 after this year. I think last year their usage was off a little bit, and we'll see how they use him this year.
Someone we have not seen a lot of over the past 2 years. With 10 games in the past 2 years, Christian McCaffrey not in the list. You have 7 running backs ahead of him. Also, Michael Thomas not in there as well. So walk us through this.
I had a hard time with these guys because where do you put them? They haven't played. They haven't played a lot of football. Michael Thomas has played none. Yeah. And Christian McCaffrey, when he's healthy and he's that guy, is one of the 3 best backs in the NFL. But we don't know where he is. He's not playing. He hasn't played much football, and that's always a concern. So I would imagine if he stays healthy this year, and that's a big if, he'll be back in this list next year. Michael Thomas needs to stay on the field and show people that, not only is he a good football player, but that he can mesh with his group. That was part of the problem in New Orleans for the last couple of years when Sean Payton was there. It wasn't always warm and fuzzy with Michael Thomas. There were issues inside that, that they rubbed people the wrong way. They need to mesh better with Jameis Winston. We'll see how he does.
Will, with as good as Christian McCaffrey looks when he is playing, is the lack of playing reason enough to keep him out of the top 100?
Yeah, I would have been pretty surprised and disappointed, frankly, if Pete had put CMC in there. I mean, look, he's one of the most electric playmakers in football if he's healthy. But that 2019 season where, Ron Rivera is coaching for his job, right, and eventually gets fired before the end of the season, they uncorked touches on Christian McCaffrey. He led the NFL with 403 touches. He led the NFL in yards from scrimmage. It was too big of a workload for him. And I mean, quite frankly, the ensuing 2 seasons in 2020 and 2021 really tell the tale of a guy who was overworked in the 3rd year of his career and hasn't really recovered from it. And the injuries continue to pile up. And they rushed him back. They tried to get him on the field for 5 wins. Like it's been a fairly poor job managing his health, I think, for the Carolina Panthers over the past few years.
He's the prototypical back, and for the current game, if he's healthy, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. The 2,000 yard guy with the rushing and catching. I mean, he can do it all, but he's got to stay on the field.
Someone else that didn't make it, Jaylen Waddle, there after his rookie season. I mean, it was a great rookie season. You were talking to us up in the newsroom. You said, "Look, he's just not there yet."
No, he's going to get there, though. I think this kid, and they got to get him the ball down the field more. You look at his catch numbers, they're great, but he didn't have a lot of yards to go with him. I think he's more of a vertical threat than what they used him in the last offense. I think Mike McDaniel will get him down the field. But again, the question, you have a track team catching passes. Can Tua get the ball to those guys down the field? That's the issue for him.
Will, would you have made room for Jaylen Waddle in your top 100?
Yeah, if I was doing the list, I would have, but because Pete was doing the list, he didn't want to leave Minkah Fitzpatrick off after that 2019 season, even though Minkah had a down year last year, didn't play quite as well. So I think Pete was probably a little nervous about leaving Minkah off the list, getting the blowback from the entire Steelers defense, and therefore Waddle is the guy who probably has to suffer as a result. I think I would have snuck him on in place of Minkah if it was my list.
Yards per catch has to go up for him. If he had yards per catch,
a little bit like Jarvis Landry in terms of just massive catch numbers, but you need to see
he runs better than Jarvis Landry. I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. I think there's a lot of guys, and I talked with Will about this on the podcast. There's a lot of guys from year 1 to year 2, year 2 to year 3 that aren't on the list right now who will be on the list next year. Like, I'm going to make a prediction. Ready?
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence will be on the list next year. I think that's a prediction for next year.
Far-fetched prediction, Pete.
Well, I mean, after what he did last year, it's pretty far-fetched.
Okay. Let's talk about some cornerbacks. Look, I was talking to you upstairs, like, obviously players, they end up seeing this and different things. You said the entire Legion of Boom 1 year blocked you. Richard Sherman still will not talk to you because of some hot takes that you've had.
Brinson
2 cornerbacks not on the list, Marshawn Lattimore and Denzel Ward.
Yeah, and again, there's two good players. I just, the way it played out, they ended up being just out of there. They were in at some point too, both of them. At one point, they were both in at the bottom of the top 100, and then I just moved them out. They're close. They're right there.
What were we going to say about Will?
Will loves telling stories about Richard Sherman, like just giving me grief.
Friend of the podcast, Richard Sherman came on. I was like, hey, man, you talked to Pete Prisco? He's like, no, he does not like Pete.
Okay, so should Marshawn Lattimore or Denzel Ward will be blocking Pete Prisco because he left them out of his top 100?
I think Denzel Ward's probably fine with being on whatever. He's on the contract list, so he probably doesn't care if he's on the Pete's top 100 list. He got paid by the Browns. I mean, again, like, if there is some nitpicking going on here, because the reality, if you want to put these guys on there, and I think that they probably are top 100 players, but if you want to put them on there, somebody has to come off. So the question is, who comes off? And you look at some of these cornerbacks who didn't make it. I mean, Pete loves a great cornerback. Like, there's no doubt about it. It's not like he didn't want to put these guys on there. It's just that, with Surtain, you have that second year type of thing. Pete said on the pod he expects him to be on there next year. Certainly Tre'Davious White, if he plays an entire season at his normal level, you're going to see him jump back in there. I think, again, like, maybe you take DJ Moore out of there. Maybe you could take DeAndre Hopkins out of there, but all of a sudden you're reducing all these wide receivers. Bobby Wagner is just playing at a really high level given his age, but how will it carry over with the Rams? It's again, fine line here between 91 and 101, right? I mean, it's a lot closer than people give it credit for because you're technically off the list versus on the list, but you got to make the split happen somewhere.
Could have just made it 150, then everybody would have griped about 160 on down, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
That's how it is. That's what this world's all about now, griping and moaning and groaning.
You do have your honorable mention list. I mean, so is there a point to doing honorable mentions? Because you got I feel like it's like another 50 to 100 players here.
Because I like to keep guys that were almost in, and some of them were in.
You don't want them to be mad at you.
Oh, I don't care if they're mad at me. They can get mad at me all you want. I don't care. I'm way beyond that, believe me.
Will Brinson, Pete Prisco's biggest snub this year.
So I said Derrick Carr, but we already talked about him. So I'll mention Aaron Jones, I guess. I mean, I think Derrick Carr would probably be my answer because but I already ranted on the fact that he's an underrated quarterback, and the social media team should clip this and send it out and tag all the Carr brothers so they know that I'm rooting for Derrick this year and expect big things out of him in Josh McDaniels' offense. But Aaron Jones, I think, qualifies too. Like, not as big a year last year, and it remains to be seen how they're going to use him and A.J. Dillon. I floated the idea to Pete. I think they're going to split Jones out a lot more than they have in the past. Use him in the passing game more. Get both backs out there on the field as much as possible to make up for the loss of Davante Adams. And if that happens, and Jones averages like 5.1 catches and 55 yards per game when Adams isn't out there. If he's piling up those numbers, he's going to have a huge year. Might even crack the top 50. If he plays 17 games, 17 games and puts up those digits with Davante Adams gone.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they use him. That's going to be key. But I think Dillon started eating away at his carries, and that hurt his numbers last year. By the way, we talk about snubs. Two guys that I wanted badly.
This was my next question. Like, who is still on your mind that didn't make it?
Patrick Surtain and Javon Holland. Okay. Two young secondary players. I wanted, in fact, they both were in at one point, and then I said I just need to see a little bit more. Both of them, by the way, will be way up this list next year.
So you're sleeping like a baby now? Like, this isn't hot in you in the middle of the night? You're good.
No, I'm done. I'm done with this. I love it, though, because it keeps me engaged in the entire league in the off season. Go back and watch guys, talk to people, and it's fun to do. And it antagonizes a lot of people.
And that honestly makes
good.
you the
it makes me
as
so
it does Will Brinson there. Will Brinson, Pete Prisco. By the way, you can check out the entire list on CBSSports.com. Sound up on all our social media channels on your opinion of Pete's list. Will Brinson, the host of the Pick Six podcast, latest episode ranking the best quarterback seasons in NFL history. Make sure to download and follow. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.